there is something around Riot that might change. They've done something that they themselves didn't know would be as big as it is. And oh boy, is it blowing away all of their expectations. So, do you remember the reveal of Project K? The League of Legends card game that was revealed with those awkward white borders? Well, this is the same game now. And more importantly, it is the same game that might change Riot. Because the size of this game is not talked about as much as it should be. Because, unironically, this game can become half of Riot's revenue if they play their cards right. In fact, something like this already happened to another company. And so, as a result, even though it was only partially intentional, Riot managed to strike a goldmine. Which is something you too can strike with today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Boot.dev. Boot.dev is single-handedly the coolest way to learn coding. We've talked about them in the past, you know the drill. Boot.dev turns the boring task of learning something new into an actual game. Here you conquer beasts, earn loot, and level up on your grand adventures. And that is all the while you still learn about some good old coding. What kind of coding are we talking about? Well, just about all of them. You can learn anything from Python and Go to the classic Java or C. Of course, once again, let us not forget that we are not learning a pointless skill. Backend development is still ranking among the highest paying jobs in the industry, and it completely opens up the doors for new job opportunities. Not to mention, we are talking about a job you can do from your home. And while you're at home, you can join the bi-weekly boss fights or unlock new pages for your spellbook, which kinda acts like a cheat sheet for your lessons. So go out there, consult with the great wizard bear, prove your skills on the training grounds, slay some monsters, and use the promo code Necrit to get 25% off of your first year if you choose the annual plan. So once again, many thanks to Boot.dev for sponsoring this video, and now let's go back into other fantasy worlds. So, in October of 2025, Riot released their second card game, Riftbound. Although this happened to be their first physical card game. By now, most people will know the story of Legends of Runeterra. This game has always been amazing on the gameplay side. It even became one of the best sources for the lore of Runeterra. I mean, every time a new expansion came out, the lore community went crazy. But slowly, the updates to this game stopped because the financial side of this game wasn't viable. Simply said, the game was too free-to-play friendly. And so while in something like Hearthstone you had to buy packs worth of hundreds of dollars, in Legends of Runeterra about 95% of the entire game was just earnable for free in a reasonable time. Which was a great gesture from Riot Games, but at the same time, there was nothing that could pay for the game. Even the cosmetics didn't help that much. The thing is, on the gameplay side, the game was still very good. Which meant one thing, all the game designers on Legends of Runeterra did a great job. So, what if Riot gave them a second chance? What if there was a second game that could do financially well, and it was very close to what the devs worked on before? And so, welcome Riftbound. If you're wondering where a lot of the Legends of Runeterra team went, that's where. And if you are wondering where a lot of the team members from the other teams are going now, that's where. And that's because Riftbound managed to start a momentum that is slowly turning the game into a titan. So first, let's talk about how big of a success we are talking about. Have you ever tried to buy anything related to Riftbound? If you have, you would know that everything is sold out, meaning that getting your hands on this game is near impossible. And while Riot admitted they underestimated the amount of people that would be interested in this game, they still aimed for a decently sized audience. And despite that, the cards are just gone from the shelves across the entire world. Anytime I happen to travel anywhere these days, the first thing I do is check the local stores. In Paris during the TFT Open, that's what we did. In Munich during the Red Bull event, we did the same thing. And even here, every day, I just check if there happens to be a Riftbound available locally. The cards are simply selling out in an instant. And should you find some cards that are available, they are available at a ridiculous price. And that is for a separate reason. You see, compared to the pricing around retail Pokemon or Magic, Riftbound has really good prices if you buy them directly from a retailer. There, we are talking about $130 per box. In every box you have 24 packs, where one pack is about 14 cards, meaning that, in other words, about 3 boxes of cards will give you everything you'll need to build at least one really viable deck. And I mean, we're talking about tournament viable. In something like Magic, depending on what box you're buying, you are usually paying about $300 and above for one box. So again, the pricing from Riot is really good, which is also partially why it is constantly sold out. And if you buy a box that is available these days, it is about $250 because of demand. But all of that is just the first sign of success. The second sign is partially hidden, and it is only available to those who actually play the game. And that is the value of both the collector's cards and the cards you simply play in the meta. Because while most of the cards will be about 10 cents, sometimes you will find common cards that you will need for your deck for about $20 each. Remember, you need 3 of these in your deck. And besides that, there are the rare cards. Now, in every pack there are 2 guaranteed rares, unless there is a mistake, which Riot is trying to fix. And some of these rares, which are in the big decks, sell for about $100 or more. And again, you might need 3 of these in a deck. Meaning that if you want to compete with a tournament level deck, most of those high tier decks will be about $500. Now, this has 2 sides to it. On one side, this sucks, because these prices mean that this game is inherently unapproachable by a new player. Although, you can still get really good budget decks for about $100. But even that is somewhat high. Thankfully, Riot is printing out more Proving Ground sets. And I can tell you, for the $30, this is the best set you can get to just have fun with 4 players. That is, if you can find it somewhere for the retail price. Because even this set has some exclusive cards that are really expensive. But the other side of all of this is that the prices are high because there is demand. Which, sure, on one side that is inflated by the fact that there is not enough cards in the circulation yet, even though again Riot did speed up the production, but also let's not forget the fact that this game is simply popular. And that is the case because, speaking from personal experience, this game is fun. I taught it to many people across different events because everywhere I go, I have my decks with me. And every time I showed it to someone new, everyone agreed, this game is good. Though lastly, this also means one more thing, and that is the fact that the collector's items are also really expensive. In case you don't know, the vast majority of legends and the champions have a small chance of having alternative art. That art can also be overnumbered, which also gives it another special unique art. And that overnumbered card also has a really tiny chance of being signed by the author of that art. These are the chase cards that people are looking for. At the beginning, when the set was released, the most expensive card was the signed Jinx for about $1,200. But as the meta shifted, people realized that nobody's playing Jinx, and even though Jinx is Jinx and Jinx is arcane, the one card who overtook her with a similar price was Kai'Sa. That's just about the most dominant deck right now. And there is a pretty good chance that the price of these cards will go even higher because Riot is not planning on ever reprinting these. On top of which, there are already some really good pieces of art coming in the second set. So needless to say, people love chasing these cards. Now, how is this related to Riot's success with this game, because they are not really getting paid for all the black market stuff? Well, this level of popularity is what you need to kickstart an empire. And all we have to do is look back and see how this already happened before, with Hasbro. You see, in the world of card games, Hasbro acquired Wizards of the Coast, which are the developers behind Magic. Wizards were acquired back in 1999, and for the next 20 or so years, nothing really happened. But about 4 years ago, in 2021, Hasbro gave Wizards their own division within the company. And there, they just let them go wild in the tabletop industry. This resulted in the setup for 2021 increasing profits by 27%, and after everything was online, 2021 gave them another raise of 42%. It almost doubled their profits. And by 2022, Magic the Gathering became their first $1 billion IP. With the grand result being that Magic is now 21% of all of Hasbro's revenue. And here we are talking about Hasbro, that makes toys. Their market cap is valued at around $11 billion. For context, Riot is estimated around $5 billion. Meaning that again, if Riot plays their cards right with Riftbound, this game can legitimately become half of Riot's revenue. Compare that to Legends of Runeterra being too good because it is free-to-play friendly. What's even crazier is that it came to light that Riftbound was made in about 18 months. So for that kind of a game to have that much potential is wild. But thankfully, Riot realizes the true potential that Riftbound has, and their support for the game is already there. Not only can you see quite a lot of writers moving over to Riftbound, which, yes, as far as I know, it also contains some narrative designers. Before, there was some critique that Riftbound is kinda changing the context of some established characters within the universe, and so now, hopefully, there should be some narrative oversight. But also, with the help of UVS, which is the producer of the game essentially, Riot's support for local play is amazing. If you go to one of these local events which are listed on a website, you will get what is called a Nexus pack. These packs contain 3 shiny cards. There is a really good chance for getting a shiny rune, but also you can get a really shiny Teemo, which is selling for about $400. And this same level of support is also handled around the official tournaments. Now here, once again, we have to talk about 2 things. First of all, Riot made a brilliant decision that made sure that every champion gets played in all the big tournaments. Essentially, after a tournament is done, Riot looks at all the rankings, and the highest ranked player of every played legend gets a special medal card. Because these are literally one of a kind for now, these medal cards can be sold for anything between $40,000 and $100,000. What this means is that during an official high-ranking tournament, you have a lot of pro players who could have called the major meta decks, but instead they decided to play something that is less played because they have a higher chance at getting the high prize with that champion. Again, this makes sure that every champion is played at a tournament. Though the other thing we have to talk about with these tournaments is how popular they are. A lot of people simply want to get into these tournaments, and UVS kinda can't handle it. The websites are crashing, people are reselling tickets, and the whole thing is a mess. So once that gets fixed, it's gonna be a whole new, better world. Though again, it kinda underlines just how popular this game really is. The wild thing is that all of this is still happening in the first set of this game. The second set is already out in China and it should be out in the West in the next few months. And if anything, the hype is only going up with it. Because Riot is really speeding up the production, the cards are still selling out like crazy, and right now there is no stopping in sight. Which unironically means that Riftbound might become one of Riot's most profitable games ever. But on top of this, the game is designed in such a way that you can also kinda put physical merch on top of this. We're not just talking about card sleeves and playmats. Technically, the battlefields, which is just a card in the middle of the board, can be a physical prop. What if, instead of fighting for the Altar of Unity, you are fighting for a little miniature model of Demacia? And what if the legend, which is technically your passive ability that is sitting on top of your deck, is turned into a little statue? Because if that statue has a little bit of text on it and it has the tapped and untapped state, that legend can be anything. So what I'm trying to say is that the moment Riot tries to merge Riftbound and their physical merch, Lord help us.